At 2:17 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, Patricia Holloway, the self-appointed queen of the Maplewood HOA, stood frozen on my front porch with her master key still jammed in my lock while my 17-year-old son Tyler stood in the doorway holding a gallon of ice-cold pickle brine over her head. She didn't know it yet, but she was about to smell like a truck stop deli for the next 3 weeks. I'm David Morrison, and I moved to Maplewood Estates 3 years ago for the peace, the quiet, and a backyard big enough to hide from small talk. My hobbies were simple: grilling in my slippers, reading thriller novels on the deck, and pretending I wasn't home when someone rang the doorbell. I worked as an accountant downtown, and after dealing with numbers and deadlines all day, the last thing I wanted was drama in my own neighborhood. Enter Patricia Holloway, HOA president, former real estate agent, and current professional busybody with a keyring that jangled like a jailer's. She stood 5 feet 3 inches in her sensible flats but carried herself like she was 7 feet tall. From the very first day I moved into my 4-bedroom colonial, she treated me like I was some kind of suspicious drifter who had somehow snuck past the guard shack at the entrance. Maybe it was because I was a single dad. Or maybe it was because I didn't attend the monthly HOA wine and cheese nights. Either way, Patricia had marked me as trouble. It started innocently enough with what she called friendly notes on pastel pink stationery. "Your hedge height violates code 4.2b, the first one said. I measured those hedges myself, and they were exactly 5 feet 11 inches, 1 full inch under the 6-foot maximum. Your mailbox paint appears to be fading and requires immediate attention, read another. I had literally repainted that mailbox 2 months earlier. Then came my personal favorite: we observed you storing construction debris on your driveway in clear violation of section 7.1. The construction debris in question was my son Tyler's portable basketball hoop. The notes escalated to what Patricia called courtesy visits. These drop-ins happened at the most inconvenient times: 7:30 on a Saturday morning while I was still in my bathrobe, 9:15 on a Tuesday night when Tyler and I were watching a movie. She would appear at my door with her clipboard and measuring tape, claiming she needed to conduct a quick inspection of the property perimeter. Tyler swore he saw her one afternoon peeking over our back fence with a pair of binoculars while he was doing homework on the patio. One Saturday afternoon, I caught her red-handed taking photographs of my storage shed from multiple angles. When I stepped outside and asked what she was doing, she chirped in that artificially sweet voice of hers that it was for the annual maintenance archive. I asked if she had taken pictures of everyone's shed, and she said with a straight face that mine required special documentation, due to its questionable compliance status. The shed was a prefab model I bought from the local hardware store, the exact same model that at least 6 other houses in the neighborhood had installed. Things took a darker turn when Patricia started showing up with what she called her HOA master key. She claimed it was for emergency access only, but her definition of emergency seemed to include checking if my garbage cans were properly stored, verifying that my garage door was closed, and ensuring my porch light met the approved wattage requirements. I changed my locks twice, but somehow she always had a key that worked. I later learned she had connections at the local locksmith shop through her real estate days. The situation reached its breaking point on a Tuesday in early October. Tyler had stayed home from school with a stomach bug, and I was at work dealing with quarterly reports. According to Tyler, around 2:15 in the afternoon, he was lying on the couch in the living room when he heard something at the front door. At first, it was just the doorknob jiggling, which he thought might be a package delivery. But then he heard the distinct sound of a key sliding into the lock, followed by the mechanism turning. The door swung open, and there stood Patricia Holloway in all her HOA glory, wearing her official Maplewood HOA windbreaker over a floral print blouse, pearls around her neck, and carrying her ever-present clipboard. She was muttering something about suspected interior code violations, and stepped right into our foyer without so much as calling out to see if anyone was home. Tyler said she was writing something on her clipboard, probably already cataloging imaginary violations before she even looked around. Now, Tyler is a creative kid who had recently gotten interested in making prank videos for his social media channels. The week before, he had assembled what he called the ultimate booby trap kit for a video that never quite materialized. Part of that kit included a gallon jug of leftover pickle brine from a failed food truck project he and his friends had attempted over the summer. The brine had been fermenting in our garage for weeks, and the smell was absolutely nuclear. Tyler grabbed that jug from where he had stashed it near the kitchen and positioned himself in the hallway, just out of sight from the foyer. As Patricia crossed the threshold into our home, her pencil poised like she was about to write an eviction notice, Tyler made his move. He stepped out and announced in a loud voice that she was trespassing. Patricia jumped, startled, and started stammering about HOA authority and emergency inspections. That's when Tyler raised the gallon jug and said, with remarkable calm for a 17-year-old, that she had exactly 3 seconds to leave our house. Patricia laughed, actually laughed, and said he wouldn't dare. She took another step forward, raised her clipboard, and started to say something about calling his parents. Tyler tipped the jug. The pickle brine cascaded over Patricia like a waterfall of fermented vegetables. It soaked through her perfectly styled hair, drenched her floral blouse, pooled in her pearls, and absolutely destroyed her official HOA windbreaker. The smell hit immediately, a combination of vinegar, garlic, dill, and whatever mysterious chemistry happens when pickle juice sits in a warm garage for 6 weeks. Patricia shrieked loud enough to set off car alarms, dropped her clipboard into the growing puddle of brine, and then slipped in that same puddle, landing hard on her backside. Tyler, bless his quick-thinking heart, had already pulled out his phone and was recording everything. Patricia scrambled to her feet, her face cycling through every shade of red and purple in the spectrum. She pointed a dripping finger at Tyler and screamed that he had assaulted her, that she would sue us for everything we owned, that we would be evicted from Maplewood Estates before the week was out. Then she squelched out of our house, leaving a trail of pickle brine from our foyer to the front walkway. By the time I got home from work 2 hours later, there were 2 police officers standing on my porch. My heart dropped into my stomach until I saw Tyler sitting calmly on the porch swing, showing something on his phone to one of the officers, who was trying very hard not to laugh. The other officer was taking a statement from Patricia, who had changed clothes but still reeked of pickles from 20 feet away. After reviewing Tyler's phone footage, which clearly showed Patricia entering our home without permission using an unauthorized key, the officers informed her of several important facts. First, the HOA charter for Maplewood Estates explicitly stated that board members had no right to enter private residences without written consent from the homeowner. Second, her possession and use of a master key for private homes constituted breaking and entering under state law. Third, Tyler's actions fell under the castle doctrine since Patricia was unlawfully in our home. Patricia tried to argue that she had implied consent as HOA president, that the master key was for emergencies, that Tyler had overreacted to a simple inspection. The officers weren't buying any of it. They cited her for criminal trespass and breaking and entering. They also informed her that she would need to surrender every HOA-issued key immediately or face additional charges. The look on her face when they said that was priceless, like someone had just told her Christmas was cancelled forever. Within 3 days, Tyler's video went viral. He had uploaded it with the title, HOA Karen Gets Pickled, and it racked up 2 million views in the first week. News outlets picked it up, and Patricia became the face of HOA overreach nationwide. The footage was devastating for her, clearly showing her entering our home without permission, and her pickle-soaked meltdown became a meme. People started calling her Pickle Patricia. The Maplewood HOA board held an emergency meeting that Friday. I attended, along with about 60 other homeowners who had suddenly found the time to care about HOA governance. The stories poured out. Patricia had entered at least a dozen homes using her master key, had issued hundreds of bogus violations, and had used HOA funds to pay for her personal landscaping. The vote to remove her from the board was unanimous, except for one vote, Patricia's own. But the real consequences were just beginning. The district attorney, after reviewing multiple complaints, decided to prosecute Patricia for felony breaking and entering. The publicity from the viral video meant she couldn't get a plea deal. She was ultimately convicted and sentenced to 2 years probation, 300 hours of community service, and ordered to pay $25,000 in fines. When the judge read the sentence, Patricia's face went white as a sheet, and she actually fainted right there in the courtroom.